So generally, when you make a career decision that I want to study CA, at the time of deciding, most of the students don't have a realistic understanding of what is it that they can do post CA. They make a decision either because it's such an old thought that getting into the field of CA will help you settle down in life. So many people do it just because their friends or their family members are already CAs or are pursuing CA. Some do have an understanding. Some are very aspirational and passionate about chartered accountancy from day one, which is unfortunately just a handful of students. Once you become a chartered accountant, people generally go with the flow. Now, while that is fine, here today I'm going to tell you all 3 different things that you guys can do post completing your CA. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the first and second because most of you all will know that. So quickly, the first one is obviously what you can study further. Out of the thousands of students we've trained, at least 40% of them are already chartered accountants. So as a step up, right now, when do you study an additional qualification? You study because either you want a career boost when you have a chartered accounting plus an ACCA or plus a CPA, which are accounting qualifications, your profile is essentially enhanced and you're eligible for higher promotions in certain companies and certain departments. Some people want to go abroad, overseas, they want to settle down. If they want to go to US, they'll end up doing CFA or CPA. They want to go to UK or Dubai, they think of ACCA. Some want to change their field. They want to go from accounting to finance, so they do CFA kind of courses. Some people want something different, so they do actuarial science. Some people study MBA because they want to then get into the finance aspect, like their eventual goal is to become a CFO of a big company. So MBA plus CA gives them that path. So studying something further, essentially a heavy qualification, is your one option. And for most CA is one of the most difficult exams in the world. So if you can clear CA and you have the energy to study more, hopefully anything you pick should be easier than the 5-6 years you are grinded through for CA. Most of you all should know these things. A lot of people after CA obviously have the option of starting their own practice in India. My recommendation, Zell's recommendation is, look, it's going to be really hard to set up your firm and find a lot of success. I hope if you look at, you want to do that, it works out for you. But a more practical approach is, unless your father or somebody in your family has a CA firm, which is already established, has clients, has a decent amount of clients essentially, you take over that or you run it further, that makes sense. But starting from scratch is hard. So practice if you have a platform ready. Otherwise, I would suggest there are other options. These are the most common things that CAs do, right? Or they eventually work in the industry. And by industry, I mean you can work at companies from Zell to a Flipkart and work in their finance or accounting departments and run the show in terms of numbers from there. This was 2. The third is the part which I really would suggest a lot of us should do, because of the integration of the way technology is obviously seeping into every aspect of our life. And we've all heard the buzzwords of artificial intelligence, machine learning, there is coding with Python, there's data science, there's analytics. We have heard about it, but we feel that only engineers or only people who have taken up technology as their initial studies are eligible for it. That has changed. The third and final suggestion is learn skill sets. Take up short courses of 3 months, 6 months, and if you have the energy of 1 or 2 years, which teach you technology. And the best place to start, right, is simple coding, simple programming. Python being one of the most common languages, I had suggested Python. You can take up a 6-month course on data science. You can take up a 12-month course on coding with Python and learning a little bit about machine learning and artificial intelligence. Just understand it. You suddenly have a combined skill set which very few individuals have. This opens your doors to a few different possibilities. Number one, obviously, companies like the Big Four have invested heavily in technology now. They're desperately looking for people who understand chartered accountancy and accountancy. There are a lot of companies which are coming up, which are fintech companies where they require finance knowledge plus tech knowledge. Right. And while you have different departments, the person who can at the top who can drive it all has to be able to communicate with different departments, have to understand what the different departments, has to understand the potential that a combination of finance and tech can have. All of this can only happen when you've studied the two. Take your time. There are online courses. Go through that grind. Study for a few months in the night for an extra hour or two. You don't know what potential this can lead you to in the next couple of years. So that's our little take, that you can do the common things, but here is something which I think will become common, and before everyone does it, do it today, because it will give you a 5 or 10 year advantage over all your other peers, and that's how you'll be able to stand out in your career.